G'day everyone, welcome to another edition of Craps Down Under. Today I'm going to continue building our bankroll. Hopefully we have a better session than last one, which was kind of a battle. So we'll continue where we left off with our $500 bankroll. I'll colour up some greens. Actually, maybe I'll just do reds. I'll just do reds. Alright, and that's those two back. I'll get some whites. Okay. So one thought I had after yesterday's session, playing 30-30-30 is kind of a fair bit of risk. It's a $90 risk. So given our $500 bankroll, that doesn't really give us too many shots at that if we would happen to get 7 outs. So I think, I was pretty harsh on the OHCM yesterday, and it does have some pretty wide flaws in that particular play, but it does actually afford you to play at a higher level when you do get the hits. So that it does have that for it. But I think when we're going to our 5-6-8, we do kind of need to play a little bit lower level, given the bankroll that we have, and maybe only reserve playing at that high level like we were yesterday. I mean, that's when I did play at the high level, was to recover, but there's nothing that stops us playing at sort of the lower level, which is around that 18, basically $51 of exposure, if I did the math right. So we'll come out with our 5-6-8. Maybe I'll do the, change it up a bit, play the 6-8-9, because I typically just go to the 5, but maybe today I'll go for the 9. Unless the 5 starts hitting, then maybe I'll switch it back. Alright, so get some dice. Yep, these two I'll do. Alright, so let's be working, and we'll see what happens. And we got the 5, so should have been on the 5 today. The one day I move it and we don't get it. Alright, I can take that off. We're still working. And we got the 6. Alright, so that's a hit. This is going to pay 21. 21, so I'm just going to do a regress down. Regress down. So we've got 20, so we're not quite out of, we don't have all our bankroll off the table, because we only won 21, but 34, so I've got a little bit left on the table, but hopefully we can get that 9, is it? No, 10, sorry, 10. The light was glaring on it for me there. Maybe that's why I'm misreading it. And we got a 6. All right. So there's our $15 for one. All right. So now quite clearly. Oh, did I? I'm not sure. I'll have to go back over the video if I actually paid for the whites. I'm pretty sure I did, but I can't remember now. But we have had some hits and wins, so yeah, maybe might be an innocent mistake there. But anyway, I'll correct that in my next video, I guess, when I review this one. So we've still got 2 units up. Everything is paid for. The shooter's doing really well, so I'm inclined to kind of push at another hit. Doesn't mean we won't get burnt, but we are at least even in our bankroll. And we got a 6 again, so the gamble paid off. And I'll now regress down to just the 1 unit, and we'll lock up another 15, and we'll see if we get any more hits here. And we got the 7, so didn't go much longer than we kind of expected, I guess, but we did lose a little bit on the felt. But that's okay, we've made profit on that shooter. So, see where we're at. 3, so not quite enough for a free roll. Alright, so we're on, time to get some new dice. I'll do. Alright, so we're working, new shooter, and we've got a 6 again. That 6 is popular today. So set the point, get paid 21. Alright. I'll leave it up for one more hit. And we've got the 8. Alright. So I like it when the shooter gets down to business and doesn't muck around and they just hit the numbers we're on. I'm inclined to give them that extra hit. We'll go down 2. So now we've got basically 34 on the felt and we've won 42. So at this point we can't lose in this hand. And we've got the 5, so we're not on the 5. Now we've got the 10. And we've got the 10 again, so on the outsides. So kind of aware where we're at. Might pull this down. Let's pull down to the 1. Right, hand's been running along. Right, he's got the 6. Okay, so he's hit his point. So he pulled down at just the wrong time, but that said, you never know when the 7's going to come. Alright, so we'll be off now, and we'll see what the shooter does. 7 out. That's alright, it's a come out 7. So I'm happy the shooter's getting those 7s out of their system while they're on the come out. That's 2. But it also might mean that they're just going to keep rolling them too. 3, that's 3 7s in a row. So 16% each time, every time we roll. So they've been rolling a lot of rubbish. Alright, it's 4 rolls, and finally they've set a point on the 9. So am I inclined to go on them? That's the question. They've just rolled a bunch of 7s and some rubbish. It's probably unlikely that they're going to go too much further. I'll give them a roll anyway, given we're already in the profit, so I'll give them a chance. See if we get one hit. We got one. Alright, but I'm just going to collect, because I've got the feeling that we're probably not going to go too much longer. I'll leave it up. We've got the 9, so shooters hit their point. Alright, so maybe, who knows what the shooter is going to do. We're off. Actually, no, I'm going to actually work. I'm actually going to work this time because I don't feel that they're going to get a come out 7, given they just rolled a bunch of them. And we've got a 6. Alright. Now, it doesn't, randomness and that doesn't mean just because you've rolled some, you're not going to roll more. But it's just the clumping of the numbers. I've kind of looked at, you know, random information. You do tend to get clumping. So I think that was a reasonable trade-off, given we've already had a hit on one of these. So these are all paid for anyway, and they've been paid for again by those 2 hits we've collected. Whether we want to keep risking it, and that point was a 6, so I need to mark the point. And we've got 6 again, so shooters hitting their points. So at the moment we're not really collecting a lot, but I'm okay with that, because we're basically at our profit target. In fact, I think we're actually there. I'll take that, colour that up. got to my $100. So, and in fact I've got this here still, so maybe it's 120. So we're kind of done. I'm just going to roll it out and see what the shooter would have done. Aces. 9. Midnight. 9 again. So pretty hot shooter. Couldn't go wrong. 10. 6 hit their point. Alright, so new come out on the 8. So they're doing everything we like to see. They did a few outsides, but that's okay. Hit their point again. My goodness, this is a hot roll. 10. But again, if we were playing the one hit can't miss, can you see, even when the shooter's doing everything you want to do, want them to do, you're getting punished. So, you know, the idea behind it is to tread water until a hot shooter comes along. Well, we've had a hot shooter and we would have been getting like cut to death by our don'ts getting knocked off. So, yeah, it's not the greatest thing. Hit the 10. My goodness. I'm not sure how many points we're in, but my God, this is it's pretty awesome to watch. All right, there's an 8. Uh, 10, 6, 4, 10. 6. Jeez, just keeps rolling this one. Yo. 8. Hit their point. So if you're on the fire bet, I think you'd be jumping up and down at the moment. It's sad we don't have that bet here in Australia, but would be an awesome bet to have. Come out 7, that's fine. Let the 7 breathe on the come out, that's good. All right, there's a 9. 9's the point. Midnight. And 7. So what a roll. So you couldn't really lose unless you were playing the one hit can't miss. You would have probably lost on that. All right, so that was a bit of fun there. It's always fun to see how far a shooter can go. So that we got our $100 profit. We can basically just colour this all up perfectly like that. Get our 3 blacks, and we've got our 3 over here. We just need to put 2 back, so that gives us the 5 for our bankroll. So for our session bankroll, just to be clear, this 1 can go over here. So we'll colour up what we've got here. So we've got, what was it, 9, and this is a perfect 20. So I can get back 4 reds. I'll get this out the way. And see if we can colour, I think we can colour up at least a green here. Alright, so we've got a green. But we'll just have to live with these 4 whites. So 334. So 334 is our session bankroll there, and we've got a 400 and another 400 there. So our bankroll keeps getting healthier because we're not doing anything foolish, we're just playing conservative. Not trying to ask too much, we're just trying to get kind of the minimum out of what a shooter's going to do. And even then, as we saw yesterday, it was tough. It was tough to try and even get 2 hits. It was just a fight all the way. But today, it just came out without very little risk. We literally just won money. We didn't really lose anything. We just won I think 2 or 3 shooters we played. We just won. But it wasn't just luck, because we still pulled our action down at the right time. We regressed our action to minimise, getting caught by the 7. So you can't avoid risk. You have to have risk at some point in the game to make money. It's impossible to make any money in any kind of gambling or any kind of venture in life in reality without taking risk. So we are taking risk on that first sort of hit is our risk. It's a moderate amount of risk. It's, I think, $51, somewhere around there. 36 plus 15, right? So that's our initial risk. But once we get that first hit, now our risk is, and then we regress down. When we get the hit and then regress, then our risk drops dramatically. We've got a very little amount of bankroll at risk. I think that's really something important, which I may not have emphasised that enough, but certainly with my play, I'm always looking at, well, how much of my bankroll is exposed on this hand at this point. So I want to get to that where I'd have the minimum or zero kind of exposure to the 7 in this case, or an adverse event if I'm playing the OHCM. An adverse event is hitting the point that you're on, and you really want to get to that point where you're not having too much of your bankroll exposed, and you get that exposure off the table as quickly as you can, and you're then using either profits from your hits, or you've actually just taken it straight back into your rack and you actually got a return, because you want to get a return on, you can think of it an ROI, return on investment. All right, you're putting up, say, $50, you need to get some kind of return for those risks, that risk that you've you put your money at risk, right? You need to get something in return for that. And so the first hit is not really giving you a return unless you took all your action straight off. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You could certainly do that, just play one roll. And that's probably something I haven't explored in my videos so far. I mean, I'll certainly turn off if I'm not confident in the shooter, but probably when we're seeing those really short-lived sessions, maybe we should only be going, or sorry, short shooters I should say, or hands where the shooter's basically setting a point and 7ing out. If we're working on the come out and we manage to get a hit, and that just seems to be what the table is doing, we could potentially just take all of our action down or turn it all off, whatever we feel, and that way you're always locking up something, but you are then also missing out on the chance to make subsequent hits. So it really depends, where you are in the session, what the shooter's doing. If they start hitting, if you're getting some confidence that the shooter might be doing the right thing, not wasting their rolls. I mean, it doesn't mean you can predict what their next roll is going to be. It's really just about an efficiency thing. If they're hitting the numbers you want them to hit, they're hitting the numbers you're on, then that's great. They're not wasting their rolls on other stuff. So that's really the only concept that I'm really using here. Are they wasting rolls on the numbers I'm not on? And if they're wasting rolls, then I start to get, okay, well, that's another roll of risk that I've had and I've got nothing for it. That's another roll of risk I've had and I've got nothing for it. And that's why I turn off, because I'm not getting anything out of that shooter. It doesn't mean they might, as soon as I turn off, they'll hit the 6 and the 8 and the 5, who knows? But you have to understand that the probability of the hand continuing diminishes each roll, because there's another 16% chance every roll that the 7 will show. And if you compound that 16%, 16%, 16%, eventually you're going to get to a point where the 7 ultimately will just on that innate 16% probability will show. So every time you roll, you're taking that 16% chance that the 7 will show and wipe out your action. So I prefer to have most of my risk up the front, because I'm not trying to get it out towards the end where the statistics tell us that a shooter is not going to last that long on average, right? So I'm just using some basic law of averages in the game of craps around where a shooter's hand will most likely go in terms of its length. And that doesn't mean that it won't go on for a long time. Of course it can always go on for a long time. It's just less and less probable that it will continue. So anyway, that's about all there's probably one thing I wanted to touch on, which I'll cover. These bankrolls, now I know they're only fairly modest, they're only $400 bankrolls, and this one's almost at a $400 level. But these bankrolls, the idea behind these is you don't take these to the casino with you, you leave them at home. You only take take this. So that's the maximum you're prepared to lose. So you only take that. And if you're going on a trip, I would recommend using an envelope system. So put your break up your bankroll that you're taking on your trip, and that may not be your overall bankroll. That might only be a sort of a trip bankroll, which, you know, imagine you've built this up to say 10k. You may not go and take the full 10k on your trip. You might take, I don't know, 2k or 3k or something like that, and you won't take it all. I would then use an envelopes, put your bankroll in your envelopes, reserve enough for the days you are intending to play, and don't go back into those envelopes. If you have a losing session, accept it, walk away, and live to fight another day. Use your envelope on that next day, or the next time you're going to play, and break up your bankroll, and don't, you know, whatever you do, don't be tempted to try and fight back in anger, and because if you do that, you're more likely to make silly bets and try and demand more from the table than it's willing to give you. And that's always the risk in this game, that you're trying to demand that one more hit, that surely it's going to hit, and then a 7 comes, or, you know, the thing you don't want to happen keeps happening. And yeah, very important to ration your bankroll across those days, and be strict about, you know, you really got to be disciplined in yourself if you want to sustain and grow your bankroll. And that's really the only message I've got. If you want sustainability, you want to be able to play the game for a while or a long time, you really need to be disciplined in how you manage your bankroll. Otherwise, you're just going to have to keep taking money from your lifestyle to keep funding your playing. And what we're trying to do here is make the game more or less fund itself. It doesn't mean we're not going to get some bad events and, you know, potentially wipe out a couple of these. It can always happen, right? You can always get freaky rolls that are going to do that. That's why we're building these things up. So we get a few more of these. We've almost got this one built as well. We get a few more of those. You know, even if we get a really bad session, okay, not great, but guess what? We've got another one, and we've got another 2 or 3 or 4 of these lined up behind it. And so it's not the end of the world. It's a setback, but it's, you know, it's an expected setback. You're planning for it. And anything you're planning for, you're expecting to happen, right? And I'm expecting to go through this at some point. At some point, I'm going to lose this, and it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it certainly is going to be some set of rolls where I'll end up losing my session bankroll. And who knows when that will be, but certainly can easily happen if I don't keep control of the betting levels. And certainly in my last session, I was pushing those levels probably a little bit too far, but it was necessary to try and recover back, because remember, I was starting at the level required, so I could basically, in 3 hits, 3 hits, and after 2 hits, I've literally got no risk, and I get the $100, basically $100 profit from those 3 hits. And I was using that betting level to try and recover those sustained losses that we'd had through the session, and that was why I kind of played at that level. Doesn't mean it could not have kept going badly for us. It could have easily gone badly for us, and we could have easily potentially gone through the rest of our session bankroll. So I am trying to be measured in what I'm doing, but it doesn't mean that a bad set of rolls can still wipe out any player, no matter how well you try and play the game and limit your wagering. You can still get those set of rolls that are just it's a curveball, and it's just gonna wipe you out. So anyway, I've said enough. Won't ramble on anymore. So we'll see you again on the next video. Thanks for watching.